I think there's a really good message here for people that are listening to this who find that rejection or knockbacks or struggles kind of derails them a little bit. Because when I look at someone who does what you do for a living, like you auditioned for Tron, right, in the States?
Yeah.
You were working in a bar at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
You went out to Hollywood.
Yeah, he's done his research.
You auditioned for Tron. Like, that is a life-changing job if you get it. Like, that's not just another job, that's a life-changing job.
Yeah.
So how do you get comfortable with the fact that something that could totally change your life is in the hands of an individual and you are a hair's breadth away from landing that?
Yeah.
And then how did you deal with it when you got the call to say that someone else?
So that situation was really interesting because I was living in sort of North London in a bed sit, and it was a pretty rough area, and I really had no money. I think I'd been very ill and I was living on like one bowl of porridge a day or whatever, and I got this call to go. They flew me to America and I got picked up by this amazing car outside, and it was first class, and I just never experienced this. And it went to I can't remember which. I think it was Universal Stages, and we got into the Tron suit, and I was auditioning with these other great actors, and it was just such a crazy experience. And I think also at the time you have to finalize your contract, so how much is at stake here. How much
you talk
money.
about the money at that point.
Yes, yeah. Wow. So they tell you how much, and so all you can see is zeros. So probably not many zeros, but for me it was a huge deal. So they put so much pressure on you, and I actually remember being pretty nervous when I got there. And I sort of messed up the first take, and I was like, what do I do? How do I make myself feel comfortable? And stupidly got down and did some press ups, and it just brought me into my body and just made me okay, I'm in control here. And then I think it went quite well. I didn't get the job, obviously, but there was just a lot riding on it. But I think
so the sheer enormity that your life could change in that moment. I like the press ups example. Why was that so important to shift your focus?
It's probably because I wanted a cigarette at the time, actually, but which I don't smoke and I don't condone. But at the time I was, But I think it was just more about being in control of the situation and what's happening, and I was kind of in my head. And I think it's important for an actor, especially if you're in a scene, to not be in your head, obviously, to just be reacting to the moment. So I think maybe simply, raising my heart rate or pumping blood around my muscles, it just made me feel more physical. But I think it was also just to give myself a timeout, maybe.
So what do you do next? So the next time when you had a similar shot, maybe it was for Outlander and the auditions for that. What did you do on that occasion that was different then? So
now I find in scenarios when I'm nervous, when I'm about to step off the edge of a scene or whatever it is, walk through the door and try and impress someone or whatever it is, they instead of kind of rising to the occasion, I kind of just go, okay, we'll just fuck it. Let's just go. Let's just see what happens. Just relax. And it's this weird kind of internalizing. It's hard to describe, but yeah, because there are moments, especially even on Outlander, where I'm still what's about to happen, or have I forgotten the line, or God, I can't remember something. And instead of worrying about it, I just go, okay, doesn't matter. Just let it go.
It's such a useful tool to find something, isn't it, in your life that allows you just to feel that sense of freedom, I think, in what is, for you, a very unnatural environment. All the crew, all the lights.
Yeah, and sometimes I try to imagine I am that guy that's, the gaffer or whatever, who's just putting the lights up and thinking about his next cup of tea and whatever. I try to think it's just another day. Yeah. It's just another day in the office.
And is it useful for you to not think that it's bigger than it is, if you know what I mean?
Yes, I think so, yeah. To not know who's watching. And I've done, obviously, theatre, which I guess is nowhere near as big as what you've done. But, for instance, I did this live Batman show, in front of 20, 30,000 people, which, had so much going on, pyrotechnics and flying and fighting. And I think if you start to think about what could go wrong, it's going to go wrong. Yeah. You just have to kind of go, okay, hope that everything be fine and just go for it.
So when you were going through your training in youth theatre and then when you went to drama school, how much do they prepare you for this? So I understand they teach you about the craft of acting, but how much are they teaching you about the about these moments of preparing for the big occasion?
I suppose I suppose they give you the sort of tools to cope, but you don't know until you do it, right? And I think that's why sometimes I think drama schools are or even youth theatre maybe looked with a bit of disdain because they don't teach you to be an actor, I guess. I think everyone has the ability to be, but they give you more tools. And then I think at that point, once you've got all these skills, you've also then got to just forget about them. Again, it goes back to being an athlete. You can practice the same long jump or technique or whatever, but ultimately when you're doing it in the competition, you just have to forget about what you've learned and just do it.
So a question that we often ask our athletes then is one that intrigues me in the answer we'll get from yourself, Sam, is how much of your success as an actor would you attribute to the tools of acting, and how much of it is down to your mental preparation and the mental side of your performance?
Yeah, that's a good question, because muscle memory is really important. And I think for an actor, we have another muscle that we use. Our brain is a big part of it, because you have to learn your lines, right? So you're literally using that muscle, and it does get better. It gets quicker at doing it. And it's so interesting how quickly it does it. And also your body, you say you're doing a fight scene, you rehearse it. And I always find you go to sleep and then the next day your body remembers it. It's so interesting. So I guess that's what an athlete does, I'm guessing. And they're training their body to do all this thing. But then I guess there is this magic, something that, it is not luck, but you're just relying on everything to come together at the right time on the right day.
One of the films I really enjoyed you in, SAS Rise of the Black Swan. How much preparation did you do for that role, and to what intensity did you prepare? Because I want people to understand that they see the fun, you feel the hard work.
Yeah. So I guess every job is different, and I guess that's what's so fantastic. And for certain jobs, one thing will work. For a Shakespeare, you might work on the text and on your voice and on, whatever it's required for that space. If you're in a theatre and you have to convey, the language or whoever or the emotions to the back of the audience. But for another job, it might be, a TV job or a film job. You're going to be studying a certain martial art or whatever it is. And for this, it's an interesting job because I got to work with Andy McNabb, who people don't know. He's ex-Special Forces, I think quite highly decorated. He has a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, some of them quite shady as well. But the most interesting part was that he considers himself as a psychopath. He believes he was born this way. And that's also the role of the character. So for me, it was about learning what that means and studying McNabb himself. And then there's the whole other side as well. So that's the mental side, I guess. And the other side was the physical side, like the fight scenes, learning the choreography. So there's that particular role was really interesting for me because it was an interesting character to play.